Hey everyone, Sylvia here from Rock the Cradle. Hope you are having a great week. It's the end of the week, Friday. It's exciting, the weekend. Time to rest, time to be with our families, time to have fun, time to relax, not do too much work. Today on our show, Doula Dialogues, we are talking, myself and my Lauren, we are talking about fertility, infertility, and fertility doulas. Now, a fertility doula is new. We've heard of birth doulas, we've heard of postpartum doulas. You've most likely heard of both of those, and fertility doulas is a new topic. Lauren, hi.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
I know it's exciting. All of these every week we're having new people who've never been on Facebook Lives before, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's working so far, so that's good.
And it's working. We got it. I think you've gone on the fastest.
Yes, I've been waiting here for about 10 minutes, just like refreshing. So.
You're good. You're good. It's all good. And what an exciting topic today. I think fertility. And I think what I was when I was thinking of these, what I was going to say today and ask questions to you is like fertility and infertility are so intertwined, right? Sometimes we like, should it be called infertility doula? You know, that's one thing I was thinking, but they're called fertility doulas. Now, if you know me or don't know me, I'm Sylvia, Rock the Cradle. I've been a doula for 6 years now, birth and postpartum doula. I'm a mom of 3. And I'll be sharing some of my story today as well, because with my first baby, it did take me a while to get pregnant. And I think, Lauren, you're going to talk about some stats about, when are we classified as
Yeah.
infertility, right? Maybe, Lauren, a few words about yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
So I am Lauren Enright, and I'm a lot of things, so I sometimes have a hard time answering that question. I'm a former high school science teacher who has made a career change in the past few years, and I'm currently working as a doula, as a birth doula, as a prenatal and a postnatal yoga instructor. And I'm newly starting to work as a fertility doula, which is super exciting for me right now.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people don't know this, but Lauren has been working with Rock the Cradle informally for the last, she helps us out when we have some overflow, when we need backup. So Lauren has been in the Rock the Cradle community for a few months now.
Yeah.
And when she said, I'm taking this fertility course, I was like, whoa, this is great, because we do have clients who do have issues. It might even be issues between babies where they start to have, maybe a miscarriage or two, or, for reasons unbeknown to everybody, right? So it's a really interesting topic. And maybe you can talk about, tell us, like, what are the infertility rates right now? Like, where are we going? Why are we talking about this? Why is this so big?
So it seems like infertility rates are on the rise. There's a lot of reasons for why we think that's the case. So probably the biggest reason is that we're starting to have babies later in life. We know that as we get older, that the quality of our eggs decreases. So just the fact that we're having babies older, that can interfere. If we look beyond just age, we can look at our lifestyle practices. So we all live in a very fast-paced technological world. We're doing a Facebook Live. These are all things that, we're on our phones constantly for anyone, really, no matter what you're doing for work. Children, even when I used to work at high school, same thing with the kids, right? So that anxiety that comes about with the fast-paced way of life, that also, we know anxiety and infertility have a link. So I think that, and not just I think, but studies have shown that that does play a role. And then the third factor is just the world, again, that we're living in with our diet, the toxins that we're interacting with on a daily basis. So all of these things, we think they're having an impact on fertility. And in terms of
Yeah,
rate,
yeah.
yeah, so it's like the rate right now is 1 in 6 couples are dealing with infertility.
That's really high. That's really
Very,
high.
yeah.
I know I mentioned that my own story. Um, my hubby and I started having children later in life. For me, I'm older than he is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Cougar.
we started, yeah, we started trying to have a baby when I was 35, and he was younger. Now, at the beginning, it's all exciting. We're trying, we're having fun trying, but as the months go by, it really started not being as fun all the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you start thinking, oh my gosh, I'm having problems getting pregnant. What if I don't have children? And it becomes a really big stress.
For sure.
And I will say we did go through a clinic here in Montreal and did all the tests. He did his tests, I did my tests. And it took a whole year before we did go through certain procedures, and it's stressful. It's really stressful. And when you're 35, you don't think you're old. Like, I didn't
No.
think I was old. And some of my clients, my birth doula clients, are saying their doctors are calling them geriatric women for geriatric pregnancies. I'm like, what? We're only 35. You feel so young.
Totally.
Yeah. And fertility doulas 10 years ago were not around. I mean,
No.
doulas were around. So of course, they can help you with certain choices that you're making and support you. But it's a new title and new trainings and new knowledge that we're bringing into the field of supporting for women. Yeah.
I think that knowledge aspect is really what's key, because what we're learning in our fertility doula training program is it's really reliable, evidence-based information. It's very current, very new information that the reproductive endocrinologists aren't always necessarily aware of, right? So, and even people in their everyday life. So people in their everyday life sometimes, and I'm reading a book right now and they were talking about this, like, they don't even know sometimes how to time when they're going to have intercourse to be able to conceive that baby. So it's just that education piece, just bringing some reliable information. The internet is a very scary place, as I like to say very often. The World Wide Web can be terrifying. We don't know where to go. So that's where enter doula, right, to help with that information.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember charting and taking my temperature every day, but I only did that, further along in my pregnancy, not in my pregnancy, in my quest to become pregnant, when I realized, maybe something is wrong. And then I, started reading all these books and whatnot. So when we're talking, we could really talk about fertility doula. I love it when my birth clients come to me and they say, before I got pregnant, I went to the doctor and I had my test to see, what lifestyle changes or what, do I have the right vitamins? Am I taking the right things, like, to prepare to get pregnant? There's that part so that we could actually talk about fertility doulas and then infertility support, right?
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
So what would your role be as a fertility doula when someone may not have problems?
Right.
They're just, they know they want a baby within the next year. What can they be doing?
Yeah.
How would you help?
So a few different things. We'd probably sit down and just take a look in general at, does the client know their cycle? So do you know when you ovulate? I mean, it's science, right? So in order for conception to be able to occur, we need the sperm to find the egg. Okay? So if the sperm is entering at a time when there's no egg, it's not going to work, right? So it could be as simple as that. There's a lot of misinformation that we all have 28-day cycles. And I think we're taught this, and I've been guilty of teaching that even in my high school classes to grade 8 students, right? And it's in those textbooks, but it's not actually the case. And a normal cycle is considered to be anywhere between 25 to 32 days. So you could be having a longer cycle, a short cycle, and then not necessarily ovulating on day 14. So we need to each get to know our own bodies so that we really can know when we're ovulating.
I think that's super important.
Yeah.
And I had longer cycles, but I can't really tell you how long they were necessarily, anywhere between 32 and 35.
Yeah.
And I will say baby number 3 was a surprise, right? And I think I just miscalculated my ovulation dates because she was a surprise. I'm like, how did I get pregnant? And then my friend was, well, I think you should know that by now. You have 3. This is your 3rd. And I'm like, but I think when you don't really know your cycles that well, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it has an impact. 3 babies.
So there's a few things we can do, like you said, to get to know when we're ovulating. So there are things in our fast-paced world, we're very often looking for quick fixes, right? So we can go to the pharmacy, we can go to the dollar store even, and buy an ovulation predictor kit, right? So that's going to be able to tell us when we're ovulating. But the thing is with these tests, it's very often too late, because once you've taken that test and it shows you're ovulating, it's already happened. You've already ovulated, right? We know sperm can live anywhere between, usually you say 3 days, it can live up to 5 days inside in a environment that is going to be conducive to it living that long. So if we're not having fertile cervical mucus, the sperm isn't going to live that long. But if we are in our fertile phase, then the sperm is going to live between 3 to 5 days. So we want to be timing intercourse before ovulation occurs. So that's when the charting, taking your basal body temperature at the same time every morning, checking your cervical mucus, this can really be helpful in getting to know our own bodies so we can then know when we are ovulating.
Yeah, JP is making a comment here. JP is my hubby. Yeah, it's good that you use the word surprise instead of accident. Yeah. Definitely. But sometimes we don't want surprises. Yeah. Yeah. So and how would your role would be lots of, I guess, education for women to ensure that they know when their cycles. Secretions. I know, talking to a lot of women in the field, some people don't even know when they have them. Sometimes people don't see them or feel them.
Right. Because we don't look for it, or we're taught that, ooh, that stuff down there, right? Where we just wipe it away and, right? Oh, do I have a yeast infection, right? Well, no, very often the secretions that we're having is it's our cervical mucus or cervical fluid, right? And when we start to really pay attention, this is something I've been doing in my own life recently to really get familiar with all of this, it's like, wow, you really start to notice a trend. And it could be really a fun thing to get to know your body very well.
Yeah. My doctor at the time was telling me, actually, after I had been charting for so long, when I went to see them, they actually just said, okay, stop doing that. That is causing you a lot of stress.
Yeah.
I would imagine and I would think having a fertility doula at that point would take away some of that stress too.
For sure. And then that's the emotional support, right, aspect of a doula. So when we're talking about doulas, we're offering information, we're offering emotional support, and we're offering physical support, right? So the information would be the information on the charting, and then the emotional support would be, okay, this is creating anxiety because I'm charting and I'm looking at this calendar, and that can be overwhelming. So when we're offering that emotional support, it's like, okay, so what practices can we bring into your life that are going to make it a little bit more balanced, that we can try to decrease that anxiety, that we can really find joy at the same time as looking at these regular cycles.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than become a burden.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's a hard place to find balance, right?
Yes, I think so. And then we move into where I think, we don't call them infertility doulas, but when when should they go and seek help?
So the textbook definition of infertility is if you are under the age of 35, so 35 is always that benchmark. If you've been trying to conceive for longer than 12 months, then under 35, you're considered to be infertile at this point. And if you're over the age of 35, we advance things a little bit. So now we're looking at 6 months. So if after 6 months of trying to conceive, still no baby, then we start to look to find support in other ways.
Right. And what kind of support would that be?
So I think very often it's important to go see a doctor, because there could be things physiologically wrong in your body that are preventing you from getting pregnant. So doctors, in the testing that they can do, they can find out what's going on. Once we get that diagnosis, then we can look at different avenues to follow. So we don't want to go that kind of assisted reproductive technologies route right away, because there's a lot of things we can do by changing our own lifestyle practices that can help. So again, enter fertility doula, because we can consult with someone who has a lot of expertise, who can send you to different holistic healthcare practitioners that are going to really help in terms of making babies the natural way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I think having done some of those, having gone through a clinic and done some hormone therapy and all of these different types of things, it is stressful.
Mm-hmm.
It's cost-wise, it costs a lot, but it's just the anxiety, I think, having that help there. I also would have benefited from, and I think a lot of other women would too, there are maybe some, I think, and the fertility doula comes in handy, like suggesting perhaps some holistic ways as well as the medical ways. Would you say?
Totally. Yeah.
Like I think of acupuncture.
For sure.
A lot of women, the famous here in Quebec, Céline Dion, went to see an acupuncturist here and helped her get pregnant.
For sure.
So that's.
Yeah.
And what's your take on that?
There's definitely a whole wide range of more holistic healthcare practitioners that can help make people more fertile. I think those are definitely helpful, but then I think, again, it's that idea of the balanced, I do something with my clients that we call it the self-care wheel. And it's looking at all aspects of your life. So it's looking at, what are you doing for your physical body? What are you doing for your mind body, your psychological
Mm-hmm.
life? What are you doing in your spiritual practice? What are you doing in your work life? What are you doing with your relationships, right? So really, when we look at this, we can see that, maybe certain areas are lacking. We're not nurturing those areas. So it's going to help to go see an acupuncturist, but if we're neglecting all those other areas of our life, then it's not, it could work. It could always work, right? But it's that idea of really bringing balance into all aspects of our lives. So definitely acupuncture is going to help, definitely seeking a nutritionist if, working with your diet is something that needs some changes. Seeing a naturopath to really help, again, in holistic practices. So these are all different holistic healthcare practitioners that can definitely help with fertility.
Yeah, and it sounds so daunting, right? Like we're listing all these things. And I think that's where a fertility doula can really help. And it's step by step and guiding couples through the whole experience to make it easier.
Exactly.
Right? Oh my God, I got to see the chiro, the naturopath, the osteopath. It reminds me of when we have a breech baby in birth, we try so many things and it can just, that stress level just goes up.
Really?
And also, this is when we, maybe when we've got a diagnosis of, I think, I'm thinking just spouses, sometimes it's the spouse's issue and not our own.
For sure.
So, before we even go to the doctor, we've changed our lives, but I think our spouses have to accompany us on this journey as well, because it could be their lifestyle.
For sure.
It could be, I've heard of cases where there was a case, I think when I was reading, a truck driver, always held his hot coffee canister in between his legs.
Totally.
Well, he's burning his boys up, there were no more. So he had to change that habit to have viable sperm.
Right? And this is it. Sometimes it's as easy as that, right? And again, This is how a fertility doula can help, is when we get the whole story, then we can be like, you just need to make a very small change. And this is something that might help you having to go the assisted reproductive technology route. So I think, and I'm reading another book right now that's talking about that exactly, that we very often in our world are turning to these technological answers right away without looking at more holistic things that we can do first, because very often it is more simple.
But we just don't know.
But we just don't. Yeah. And we need that information.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And what kind of, in terms of care, I know you've talked about physical, I mean, you're a yoga teacher. Do you incorporate that into your work? I'm imagining you do.
Definitely. So in working people who have, so if people haven't started the conception process yet, and they're finding in their self-care wheel that they're dealing with some anxiety, then that's something that I like to help clients with, is just working with that anxiety by teaching them breathing exercises, by teaching them ways to bring mindfulness into their everyday life. With people who have a diagnosis of infertility, then with that category of people, I like to do a lot of guided visualizations where we focus on our breath, but then we also help that mind-body connection, because there's a lot of evidence that shows that the thoughts that are going on in our mind can have an impact on our physical body. So by beginning to change those thoughts, by incorporating these new images into our mind, then that's going to help us develop a bit more of a positive connection with our body.
Excellent. Yeah. You know, that's great. That's great. We so need that.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me perhaps about a woman who gets pregnant but perhaps has several miscarriages? Is that considered infertility? She's getting pregnant, but you know, I would think she would I'm thinking of some people that I know who've gone through this class between halves, right?
Definitely.
And would, you know, don't necessarily think they need a birth doula, right? Because for them, birth doula is when I can keep the baby.
Yeah.
But when I'm having miscarriages.
Sure. So after multiple miscarriages, so that's now someone who's dealing with multiple losses. And often that would be cause to go and seek help from a healthcare practitioner. So not so much holistic, but more we're going to the doctor now, because in this case, testing needs to be done. We need to look at our levels of hormones. So what is preventing us from keeping this baby inside, from nurturing the baby? Sometimes we can find reasons related to hormones, related to different deficiencies that we might have. And in that case, again, it could be a little bit of an easier fix. We can just take different hormones, right? In the case of it not being something that we can find a reason for, then that's when we can also go the route of a little bit more holistic therapies of, seeing what else we can do with acupuncture, with making lifestyle changes. So another recent book that I've been reading, it's called It Starts with the Egg by Rebecca Fett. Yeah. And for me, this has been a huge shift, because she really talks about it's all about the quality of your egg, the chromosomes in your eggs. And that if the chromosomes are abnormal, then it can still allow conception to occur. We can have fertilization occur, but then it won't be able to develop into a fully grown baby. And then this is often when miscarriage occurs. So if we want to look at, and she says that we can, and studies show that you can actually make lifestyle changes to improve the quality of the chromosomes in your eggs through diet and through eliminating plastics and different fragrances from your lifestyle.
Super interesting. Yeah. Very. Yeah. And a lot of people I don't think know, but we are born with a finite number of eggs.
Yeah.
As women, right? And I think it's 400,000 around. It depends on the woman, but I think
exactly
400 sounds like a lot. But as we get older, as children grow, they have less and less eggs.
Right.
So by the time when we're talking about infertility for geriatric patients, you know, like 35 and up, that's me. The eggs that are left over are not often the best ones.
Exactly.
So that book that you were talking about, it starts with the egg.
Yeah.
And allowing those ones to be more viable.
And I think
That's super interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, the important thing that she mentions over and over and over again in her book is that it's not that the quality of your eggs right now is the way that they're always going to be, which I think is fantastic news because it means there's hope. So if we've been doing, if we haven't led the healthiest lifestyle, like sometimes we don't when we're in our 20s, that there's
really, Lauren? That's another show. That's going to be another show.
Yeah, but we can, just by making, and she cites all of these research studies in her book, which I really like. The scientist in me likes that. And it's like within 2 to 3 months of making these changes, we actually find that the levels of BPA, the levels of these phthalates that are in women's blood, they decrease, and it actually can improve the quality of your eggs no matter how old you are.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And very hopeful and inspiring.
Yeah. It's kind of like brain plasticity. Like we used to think that we don't grow new neurons in adulthood, but that's not the case, right? Like we have the capacity to still rewire our brain even in adulthood. So similar idea.
Yeah, I'm just reading. JP says, I've heard that some women can only birth baby boys, so their miscarriages are baby girls or vice versa. Do you know, have you heard of that?
I have not. No, that's interesting.
I'm gonna have to look that up. That is interesting. That I don't know. I'd have to look up. I want your source, JP. I want your source.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need a reliable scientific study.
Right. So what else, Lauren, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about in terms of this new topic? Oh, Michelle said that can be energetic. Perhaps.
Energetic. Yeah.
Ida mentions, do you have any advice for male infertility?
Mm-hmm.
Super important.
Yeah. So
it's true. I was just considering that it's true that you're the doula, like we are for birth doulas. We doula the husband or the partners and the birthing person. Mm-hmm. But you also can doula the couple.
Yeah, and I definitely like working with the couple when I'm working with clients because I think it's very nice. I mean, for people that have a partner, because we can also work with women that don't have a partner that are looking to conceive on their own. But when we do have a partner, it is nice to work together, and especially if it's a male factor infertility, because then there are these lifestyle changes we can make with diet and with eliminating certain toxins from the home. These are things that also can improve the quality of the sperm. So, and it's always nicer to do something with someone, and it's our partner, and just energetically as well, right? So when we're working together as a team, making these lifestyle changes, I definitely think that can contribute to the holistic part of reproduction. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, the couples I work with a lot, we start making a lot of changes after we get pregnant.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
I mean, we start exercising or maybe going to that yoga class. We start eating better. I know I changed products in my house. I was like, okay, I can't have any of these bad products anymore.
Totally.
So before, when it was just myself, I wasn't thinking so much about it. But when there's a baby in your belly, you're like, oh, wait a second. And we start eating more organic foods.
Totally.
So it seems very intuitive that couples who are having issues will start this earlier. Start the process
or even earlier. Not having issues, like we were saying, like if we're just,
yes.
If we know that we want a baby in our life, so it's starting these changes right now to welcome that space for the baby coming into our life.
Yeah, and most people keep these changes as well. They keep them when you do hopefully get pregnant down the road.
Yeah. You reminded me of one more thing I wanted to say in terms of what we can be doing right now is very often once we get pregnant, we start taking a prenatal vitamin, but that's something that we can, if we're looking to conceive, we can actually start that right now. And that definitely can help prepare the body for conception.
Especially the folic acid, right?
Yeah.
Right. I know my mother-in-law is a doctor, and when we started talking to her about that, she goes, "Oh, make sure you've got enough folic acid beforehand you start." But a lot of us only take it afterwards.
Yeah.
A lot of us only. So I like your idea about getting the prenatal vitamins ahead of time. For sure. Ida's asking like lifestyle changes for them as well. Yes, I think they should get up off the couch and less beer, less beer. No, I think they do need to make lifestyle changes as well.
Yeah. And it's always easy making change, and that's something we do as doulas, as fertility doulas, is help people make these changes. It's never easy to make a change in our life. So it's sitting down together and really finding out exactly how we're going to make that change, and then holding, you know, the client accountable for it as well. It's always nice when we know that someone's going to ask us in a week from now, so did you do what you said you were going to do, right? And it just,
yes,
a level of accountability.
Like anything, it's coach.
Yeah.
We need a coach there, and there's going to be bad days and good days. And I mean, my heart goes out to all the people out there, you know, trying to conceive, and some of them take years before, and that's what a journey, what a journey that is for them. Some people don't get pregnant in the end, and that's you know, very, very sad for them. But I think now we're talking a lot about it, talking more about it. There are options, and that's what we're all about, right? As doulas, it's
totally.
What is it? We may not want to go through hormone therapy right away and start injecting ourselves with hormones before trying out all of the different things, right?
And there are,
which is where you come in.
And there are so many online like communities that offer that type of support as well. So because it's something that we're talking a lot more about these days, it's out there now. People talking about their stories of loss. Different websites that are devoted for mindfulness and fertility and giving those guided meditations, guided visualizations. So it's support is definitely a big aspect in people dealing with loss or just on this journey, because like you said, it's not easy.
No, not everyone, you know, especially nowadays, we're not getting pregnant at 20 years old anymore, as you know, and those pregnancies are often easy. not pregnancy, but getting, you know, having a baby, getting pregnant.
Yeah.
And now a lot of our clients are so much older, and we do have other issues. And like you said, environment. Well, wow, so much great information. And what an exciting journey that this is taking you on. You know, this is a whole other aspect.
Yeah.
To the doula, to your doula work. Well, thank you. Thanks for everyone for coming on. Thank you, Lauren, for sharing your expertise with us, and good luck with finalizing everything and getting this all up and running. You're already doing this, so for anyone who wants some help, it'd be great. Yeah. Join us next week. Fridays at 12 every week. We are going to be speaking. I'm going to keep it a surprise, probably just because I haven't confirmed it. Mika. Mika and part of our team, she's going to be talking about what's in her doula bag, all the little nifty tricks and tips. Awesome. So look out for that. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. And that's right. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. Bye, Sylvia. Thanks.
Lauren, thanks so much. Bye everyone.